What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily Podcast, powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Some elite prospects, including number one prospect in the nation, setting official visits to Miami. We'll talk about them. Big-time wide receiver target emerging as a priority. Also, Mario Cristobal talking to ESPN this afternoon about Carson Beck, his recovery. Said he could be ready in a few weeks. A little different than what we thought it might be. We'll see what's the truth, what's fiction, and we'll talk about the combine. Got a lot of players going to the combine, not just for this year, even next year. Some underclassmen showing already that the NFL is going to be after them pretty hard. So we'll talk about all that. Sorry, I'm late. I got a call right before we went live. And it was a Miami-related call. There could be a bank dropping soon, but had to take that one. So, listen, I'll tell you who's never going to miss your call. That is Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Pete, hop in here.
What's going on, D?
Yeah, man. Sorry again. Got pulled away from a call. Might happen during the show, so I apologize. It's not kid related or other job related, is Kane related. So just try to work to get you guys the goods so we can, keep giving you guys the info.
Yep. No, I mean, I'm ready. All
right. So no info yet. It's coming. Oh, we'll do a bank later on in the show, but yeah, man. So first things first, Pete, a lot of big time prospects setting official visits. I feel like we talk about this guy setting visits all the time because he's here so often, but it's now official that Jackson Canwell, number one player in the country from Nixa, Missouri, will be visiting Miami.
Yep. So he's going to be visiting May 9th. So that is officially locked in. Now, Miami, Missouri, Georgia, Michigan, and Oregon, as we see here.
I don't love Oregon being that last visit. I think that's going to be the favorite in the clubhouse just because – Dan Lanny's a Missouri guy. They have a really good connection. Oregon is an elite track and field program. Jackson Canwell is probably the best thrower in the country his age. So, I don't love that as the last visit. But look, here's the truth. He's visiting in March for a spring practice. That's the word unofficially. He's also visiting in May for an official. Those are 2 visits. So he visited also last year. So now you're talking about 3 visits. 3 visits. You're in the game. He also likes the campus. So going to be interesting recruitment. We'll see where it goes.
So that was the first visit that was set. The other one was Corey Barber.
Yeah, Corey Barber. This is what I want to focus on a little bit here because he is a really interesting prospect. Pete, pull up the video when you can. This is a guy from Alabama, right? So you think about Alabama. Miami's actually gotten 2 receivers from Alabama in recent years. Daz Worsham, which wasn't the best player, came in with a lot of injuries, but was from Alabama. And then you had Dalen Upshaw, who's on campus now, true freshman from Phoenix City, looks very, very good. So, this is a place where Miami is starting to get more inroads. Last year, you added Cam Pruitt, Bobby Pruitt, the linebacker / safety from Mobile. You also had a Cole McConaughey from Mobile. Both of those guys played with the defense as true freshmen. So I'm not talking about, mop-up duty, real snaps. So both those guys look like they're going to be helpful players for us going forward. Dipping back into Alabama here with Corey Barber, who there's a 4.4 official on the lasers. You see the size, looks like 6 foot, easy 180. The verified 4.4, you see it right here when he's pulling away. This is good competition in Alabama, and the production is outstanding. This is not a highly rated receiver, but again, I think with the 4.46 official, the 6'1", 180 official, and then you got Georgia after him now, Alabama after him, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. So the name is starting to get out. He's a high 3-star, ranked pretty similar to Dalen Upshaw last year, but I think the interest in him is at a higher level at the same point. And when you watch these clips, you can see why he's so enticing to people. Gabby Rudy from 247 reported that Miami loves this kid, and you can see why.
Yeah, I think you follow the offers earlier in the process now at this point, and then a lot of these rankings will change after the spring circuit, the 7-on-7 stuff, the camp circuit, and into the summer. So I think he's definitely a guy who gets bumped up.
Yeah, I mean, the verified times to me are important. I'm not a huge believer in wide receiver 40s being the end all be all. Obviously, it's important. It's not unimportant by any means, but I think more than that, the fact that he has size, strength, production, quickness, that to me is even better. And the fact that you have all those things, plus you see him blocking, knocking people out, you could see why he's such a prized prospect. Here he is going up again in the ball. I wouldn't say it's his strength, high pointing footballs, but he catches it well enough. And then after the catch, he's just the size and speed is very tough to deal with. Good year in the Deep South, man. Mississippi's got 2 big-time receivers, both visiting the University of Miami. Miami's going into the Deep South for this recruiting class. We talk about wide receivers.
Just got the video you sent.
Yeah, so another guy who's visiting this or set a visit for this spring, this is March 18th, is the number 2. And this is right off the presses. Shout out to Gabby Rudy on this one. This is Kansas tight end, number 2 tight end prospect in the nation, Ian Premer. I'm sure it's Premer or Premier. I think it's Premer. Number 33 overall prospect in the class of 26. Plays both ways. Nasty basketball player. Just a supreme athlete. Super productive. 32 catches, 538 yards, 9 touchdowns. Can play anywhere. But look, Elijah Arroyo about to get drafted pretty high. Miami's history of tight ends speaks for itself. I think they have a chance to go to any place in America and get tight ends. And this guy's one they want. And you can see why returning this kickoff. Look at the short area quicks here. Oh, look at the balance. Pete, man, we have a new favorite player here. This guy's a 21-point scorer in basketball doing this kind of stuff.
I don't know, man. It's going to take a lot for me to get off Hezi Kent as my number 1 guy right now.
We got to send Jay Lucas, Hezi Kent, and Ian Premer right there. Let's get the front court going, at least the wing with Premer. So you see here, this competition is not, they're going to be able to keep up with a player like this, but he is impressive, man. I could see why he has so much attention. Kansas had a top 10 quarterback or tight end last year as well. So they're doing a good job producing these guys for whatever reason. But here you see him split out wide. Easy sluggo.
Nice body control.
Yeah, you see him lined up here in the backfields. Obviously, they're using him in different ways. Handing the ball off. Uh-oh.
Look at that change of direction.
6'5", man. This guy's juking people. That's a big tell to me when you just hand the ball to a guy. Obviously, Brock Bowers is the first name you think about, but we saw that with Elijah Lofton for the Canes. Brock shot a little bit with the Canes. Aaron Hernandez is kind of the original where he was getting handoffs in the NFL. So that's a pretty good indicator. And there you see him blocking. This little guy's going for a ride. Boom. So, yeah, this is an impressive player, man. The kind of guy you want to recruit a tight end.
Here he is again in the backfield.
Yeah, and look, part of this, we'll talk about the combine in a second. He's going to see Elijah Arroyo get drafted pretty high. Yeah, this guy's good. This guy's good, man.
Yeah, the competition, I'm going to need to get that verified, but the way he's moving is pretty special. Yeah,
shout out to Coach Woodle. Not a lot of, Notre Dame's offered, big time schools have offered, but you don't see a lot of like, this is where he's going to go kind of thing. He seems like he's pretty open. Obviously, he's from Kansas, so Kansas State are not terrible options, but they're not like necessarily automatics. Clearly played safety as a sophomore too, 4 interceptions, 21-9 on the hardwood. This guy's a talent, man.
Impressive. Yeah, really good player.
So look, Oregon's in the mix for him. There's a lot of talented play. So here's the story on him. Just reading for 247. Lincoln Cure, he was the guy from Kansas I was thinking of. He always linked to Kansas State and signed there. Said Premer also likes Kansas. But man, I don't know how many NFL tight ends are from Kansas.
Yeah, I wouldn't know off the top of my head. Blue says last Kansas player was Arthur Brown, ?
I guess. I think so. The thing with Arthur Brown is he didn't do it for us, but he ended up being a second round pick.
For Kansas State, yeah.
So it's not like he sucked. He was pretty good.
That was one of my favorite early recruiting memories, following the recruiting stuff heavily. Yeah,
I remember that was before Canes Insight. I remember Canes Sport, your boy. He did.
Yeah, that's when I was on Canes Sport, but before our boy denounced me.
he had a headline like, what can Brown do for you? I remember I was leaving a test in grad school, and it was just like a stressful test. And then you see it's all good. Turned out to be nothing, of course. like a lot of these things.
Right.
And then
right.
again, then,
his highlight, but now that I'm remembering it, I have to caution myself a bit because his high school highlights were absurd. He was blowing people up. And the competition also wasn't very good. So
Bryce Brown, if you recall that year, you had Bryce Brown from Kansas, not that year. So the next year you had Bryce Brown from Kansas. You had
Isaiah Simmons was from Kansas, as Dogo Daddy points out as well.
Kansas is actually a running back haven because you had Barry Sanders is from Kansas, John Riggins is from Kansas, and I believe Gale Sayers is from Kansas. So those are 3 Hall of Fame backs. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you got 3 Hall of Fame tailbacks from Kansas. But anyways, that year shows you how recruiting rankings go. You had Bryce Brown, number 1. Everybody wanted him. This is 2009, the next year, right? You had Bryce Brown. You had Lamar Miller from Killian. And you had Mike James from Haines City in Central Florida. And both of those guys were played in the NFL. They were way better than Bryce Brown. But
wasn't the story that Bryce Brown saw Lamar Miller play at Killian when he was coming down here to visit one weekend, and he kind of said, I don't know if I want to come play with this guy.
That's the urban legend. At the time, a lot of people thought that was cope, but they didn't say that word back then. But, they thought it was coping with the fact that we lost Brown. But when you go back and look, not only was Lamar Miller a better player, I mean, Mike James was a better player. Mike James played in the NFL until he got hurt. So,
ran for 200 yards in a game in the NFL.
Yeah. Oh, Riggins was from Dillon, not Kansas, Texas forever. Not that Riggins. Pete has no idea what this reference is. Pete, let's see if we can get this reference.
Not John Riggins. That's the only Riggins I know.
Yeah, it's not John Riggins. Let's see. You get the reference?
Me?
Yeah. Any chance?
Am I supposed to look it up?
No, just see if you can figure that out. Texas forever.
No.
UGK. Friday Night Lights. Friday Night Lights. This is West Texas. UGK South Texas.
I've never watched Friday Night Lights.
But yeah, John Riggins is from Centralia, Kansas. So that's pretty good.
It was a good guess. The UGK was a good guess. Because you put me on the UGK years ago. Oh, he's getting this call.
Take over, Pete. Do the combine.
Right, I'm gonna remove you from here. All right. So we got NFL Combine this week, of course, in Indianapolis. Let me pull up the full list, so I don't miss anyone here. As of course, Cam Ward headlining. No word yet if he's going to be throwing. We know Shedeur Sanders is not going to be throwing yet. But going to be a nice list of guys. And I mean, as D and I have spoken about here for a few weeks now, and even later part of the season, here it is. There's going to be a good amount of guys drafted outside of Ward and Arroyo. I don't know, when the next guy gets drafted. Both of those guys, obviously Ward with a very good chance to be the number 1 pick, top 2 to 3 pick without a doubt. But Arroyo has a nice shot to get picked there late first round, early second round. And then after that, we'll see as you look at who is going to be in Indianapolis for the combine. Ward, Arroyo up front there, Jacoby George, Xavier Estrepo, Damian Martinez, Kiko Mauanoa, Andres Borregales, Tyler Barron, Rivers, and Sam Brown. So just getting into each of these guys, kind of where they stand, and just, I'll answer some of these questions. Plank Time says, how did our best D lineman not get an invite? Yeah, the Simeon Barrow thing was weird to me. He's not your prototypical defensive tackle from a size standpoint, but this was a guy who was super productive, all conference, was near the end of the year, I think playing a little bit banged up, was playing through injury, but just watching Miami all year, we understand what the issues were defensively, but he was a bright spot without a doubt. So I think he still, has a chance to get picked late. He didn't go to any of these games either. I don't know if that was injury related for him either, because again, I know he was playing through injury late in the season there. So sometimes they don't play in games to get right for this part of the process. But just going down the list, Ward obviously in a good spot. Will he throw or not will be very interesting. Shedeur, like I said, is not throwing, but we know the competitive nature of Cam Ward. Is it necessary for him to throw at this point? I don't know that it is. I don't know how much it's going to help him, or I don't know if it's going to hurt him either. I think if he does decide to throw, he'll do a great job out there. That's where his talent would shine. But at this point, he's right there. So I don't know that he needs to do it necessarily. Xavier Estrepo, 40-yard dash, as it was asked here by Blue, will he run it? Is his time important? I would expect for him to run it. I don't have any info that he's not going to. And I would say it is important for him. That the tape, I think, should speak very, very loudly for him. But at the same time, it's an important part of the process for every player for the most part. And it's about matching or exceeding what teams saw on film. I think his play speed's fine. Anyone who has watched him sees he's a guy who has the ability to find pockets in a defense, and obviously has really reliable hands for the most part, and is a dog, and is a guy who can make things happen after the catch as well. Has a stout build, but at the same time, they want to see him. They want to see what he's going to run and see if it matches what they see on film. So I think he's a guy who it might be a bit all over the board. Some teams are going to say they need that ball player in their building and are going to be willing to take a chance on him a little bit higher, maybe third round or so. And then there's going to be other teams who are really wanting to take chances on physical traits and may not have him as high on their board, and may have him, closer to the later part of the draft, 5th to 7th round. But I think we all know this guy is gonna get into a team and make an impact pretty early on. Damian Martinez, I think he has a chance to rise. I think he has a chance to run a faster 40 than what people realize. You saw his speed in the bowl game, and you saw his deep speed there. Once he gets going, man, he's moving. So I think he's someone who could, with a good 40 time, low 4.5s, potentially continue to solidify himself in this process. And essentially, I think he's a guy who, it's a deep running backs class, but you're going to get really good value with him late here. Kiko Mawanoa, I think someone who's in that late round range, his 40 will be important. How his body looks will be important. Borregales, I think he's got the leg to be an NFL kicker. It's kind of a crapshoot in terms of whether or not he's drafted. That's kind of how it is with these special teams guys. Jacoby George, late round possibilities with him. Tyler Barron, the body type and the frame are going to be something that NFL teams want. They will question why there wasn't consistent production throughout his career, but I still think he's a guy who gets drafted late. Sam Brown, the combine is everything for him at this point right now because the film was not consistent. Teams are really banking on him doing, blowing it up at the combine, running low 4.4s, high 4.3s sort of thing. They expect for him to jump out of the building and all of that. So he needs to do that because that is how he's going to get drafted, is teams banking on those traits. And look, it wasn't a great year for him. I'm still a believer in his talent, and I think he's a guy who gets drafted late. Jalen Rivers, the versatility across the line is obviously something that we are all, we're very appreciative of during his time at Miami. And I think the NFL is going to value that as well. He's probably an interior player, had a really good week at the Senior Bowl, probably 3rd, 4th round range for him. Combine's important for him as well, because I don't think teams are expecting him to test all that well. But if he can show a little bit more juice than maybe they were expecting, or maybe that they saw on tape, and show a little bit more twitch, a little bit more explosiveness, and then knock it out of the park on the on-field drills, which I expect him to do because he is a really technically sound lineman, then he can solidify his case as well. So wanted to get into some of that. I know we have some comments here. Let me see. Gio says, which draft class ends up looking better 5 years from now, 2025 or 2026? It's I know that's what you're asking me to do is project. I will say you're going to have 7 to maybe 9 guys, I think, drafted here in this class. So it's a lot. It's a big number. The elite talent, consistently elite talent. I don't know if it's, where you want it to be just yet. D, I see D's back. Give me the thumbs up when you're ready to add me. Oh, there he is. All right.
What's up?
So I just went through pretty much all the combine invites, and then I'm getting to the question now. Johnny Lagoon asking about how about Zach Carpenter is rock solid at center this year. I think he's a guy who gets some looks as a priority free agent. I think priority free agent or late round pick. It's that nature of the position, man. Center is first of all, the guys who are getting drafted for the most part are really, really good athletes, like really top-notch athletes who have positional versatility. You don't want to draft a guard unless he can really play a center spot. I don't know if Carpenter has that versatility, but he will be a guy who's signed at the very least at priority free agent. And he'll get a look in camp. I could see him being a practice squad guy. He's big, man. He's smart. And I think he played really well for Miami this year. Center is also a weird position where there are guys all across the league who are late round to undrafted guys who made good careers out of it. But it's a very you need some things to fall your right way position. Like you need some luck. You need some breaks. Unfortunately, injuries, because like teams don't really invest. Not every team's investing in a center, right? There's only one of them at every game. Every other position besides center and QB, and we understand teams are investing in backup quarterbacks now as well. There's multiple of them that are on the field, so that's not the case at center, and that kind of hurts the position.
Yeah, I think more of a good college player, Carpenter. I would say what's going to end up happening, I think, is that you're going to see everybody in this offense get drafted aside from Carpenter. Now, they're not all eligible, but I think you'll see just this year, let's say the top 3, let's treat Isaiah Horton as a starter. So you'll have Ward will get drafted, Martinez will get drafted, Rivers will get drafted, Restrepo will get drafted, Jacoby George will get drafted, Arroyo
Fletcher.
That's 6 of the 11. And then next year, Maunoa for sure will get drafted. I think Horton and Cooper have a pretty good chance to get drafted. I think Matt McCoy is going to surprise people and become a major prospect. And that would just leave the Carpenter. So it'd be interesting to watch.
Blue says, Mario said Carson Beck, Ruben Bain, and Francis Maunoa attending the combine as college players. What's that about? So every year they invite 30 players, the NFL does, to the combine, and kind of they bring them through a kind of informational program for a couple days. They get them inside of the dome there and let them experience it up close, and just kind of, again, it's a lot of informational stuff. I remember Greg Rousseau went years back. It's guys who are going to be eligible for the draft coming up, and these are guys who are heavily on the radar. It doesn't mean that their first round picks guaranteed or anything like that, obviously, but they're heavily on the radar. And the NFL, they it's kind of like the rookie symposium, which, again, they try to start prepping these guys for what they're going to face in the year ahead, because it comes quick, man. We're in obviously February now, but these guys have pretty much had to start thinking about this NFL process since October, November, as the season's starting to wind down. So you let these guys get some of that information now. And what the NFL thinks is it's in their controlled environment, right? So they're before all the agents and everything start coming at them, which in today's day and age, these guys have agents out of high school. So it's a little antiquated, but this is a program that's been going on forever.
3 out of 30?
Yeah, 3 out of 30. Pretty
so
good.
That's 10%. That's pretty good.
Yeah. What else here? Blue asking how important is pro day versus combine. They're different. Not everyone gets the combine invite, right? So again, we got 10 guys going. That's a big number, and that's not a guarantee you're going to get drafted, but you're heavily in the mix. So listen, pro day, obviously, if you don't get the combine invite, is everything for you in terms of the testing stuff. But essentially, if guys are happy with what they did at pro day at combine from a testing standpoint, you can kind of pick and choose certain stuff, because guys are always going to say, man, I could have done better in the bench. Or if they had something that was holding them back from doing the bench, maybe an injury, or they weren't ready to do it, then they will do that at pro day. So certain stuff, if they weren't able to do it at the combine, they'll do it at the pro day. But really what pro day is very important for is the positional drills. There's always going to be an assistant coach from a team who brings these guys through the workouts, right? So there's going to be a receivers coach there who's running Jacoby George, Sam Brown, and Xavier Restrepo through these drills. And a lot of that's it's a cardio workout more than anything. And that they try to really wear these guys down to see that competitive nature come out, to see, because when you're doing these drills, everyone looks pretty in the drills, right? You're trained for it, but they will try to grind you down. So in that aspect, some teams, the pro day is more important, but it's for the positional drill stuff more so than the 40-yard dash and the shuttle and the testing stuff.
Yeah. And, by the way, so the 10 invites, so I was looking for this graphic. So in terms of the teams, 15 players from Ohio State invited to the combine. They won the national championship. Georgia and Texas, 14 each. They were the two top SEC teams, both in the college football playoff. Oregon also in the college football playoff, 12 players to the combine. Here's the underachievers category. Ole Miss and South Carolina with 11. Impressive by South Carolina. You look at Taylor, the new personnel guy for the Canes. He had a big part in that, I am sure, building that roster up with 11 players from South Carolina. It's pretty impressive. Ole Miss right there too. And then 10 for UM. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
10 for UM, 9 for Alabama, 8 for LSU.
Yeah.
You don't see that all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like I said, not all the top end talent, but as you saw, you won a lot of games this year. But if you're getting 10 a year, you got to be feeling pretty good about yourself. And not all of that's high school talent. It's portal stuff, but I think you've said it. I don't know if you mentioned it in today's show, but that's how these classes I think are going to be judged moving forward. It's not the starting product of how many guys you lost from your freshman classes, but it's when guys are going in the league, like how many players from that group are draftable prospects. And it's always that's always really should have been what the model is, but now there's so much of that change that you really can't look at where it started. It has to be what it looks like at the end.
No doubt. One thing, I don't know if you got to this, Pete, but to me, it's really a bummer, quite frankly, is Arroyo missing the combine for a knee problem. Now, I don't think it's a serious knee problem, but I think there's two issues there. Number one, he's not going to be the combine where he would have torn it up. Number two, it's a knee. So if you have durability concerns, he was perfect all year, and he played in the Senior Bowl, and he played in the bowl. But then a knee thing, after he worried about the knee, you don't love that, I think. He says he's going to work out full in the pro day, which is only in a month, so it can't be that serious, whatever he has.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speculate too much. I think he's in a very good spot. You see this in basketball a lot. I don't want to call it a guarantee, but I think if his team is telling him it's in his best interest not to work out now, but he's already saying he's going to work out at pro day, then I would feel pretty good about where he's at. I have a feeling that he knows a good area of the draft where he's going right now. That's my hunch, though, having been around the business, Steve.
I hope you're right. I think he's a first rounder all day. So Pete, help me out here. We got 600 on live, which is good, but man, we had 2,600 on live. We had less than the 10.
Shoot, man. Maybe we should be talking Jay Lucas, man.
Jay Lucas, man, was driving the numbers.
What was it? The Duke? Was it the Duke fans on here, man? Come on. I don't know.
That could have been it. That could have been it.
But I think when it comes to Arroyo, I think he should be fine. I mean, like I said, like you said, it's a bummer that he's not running, because I think he would have lit it up, and that's a cool stage to do it on. But he'll be able to do that at pro day, no problem.
And look, I'm doing a little quick NFL monologue, but Pete, go in the kitchen and cook us some Cuban food here, because we're about to do that. We'll do the spot in a second, so get that ready. But just real quick, guys, I'm really rooting for in this combine: Xavier Restrepo, Jalen Rivers. Those two in particular are just guys that have done everything right. They, to me, are great players. I would love to have them on my team as a pro fan, Dolphins fan, whatever it is. I'd love to have them on my team. They were Manning guys who really developed and did a great job for Mario and for the Canes fans. I think the combine, certainly for Restrepo, Pete's probably talked about it. You kind of overstate the combine sometimes, but I think with Restrepo, it does matter quite a bit. With Rivers, it's not going to make or break, but if he's more athletic than people think, I think it's going to give people an excuse to take him, because I think people want to take him because of his size, the length, how smart he is, and everything else. So those are two guys. If you're asking who I'm watching in particular, especially with Elijah Arroyo, not competing, and Cam Ward probably not. Those are the two guys I'm really trying to see. So if you're trying to see some of the best Cuban food in Miami, Pete, Dining Pavilion in Dayland Mall, Islas Canarias Express, the absolute best in the business. Established in 1977. That's when the first Star Wars came out. Pete, I'm sure, has seen Star Wars how many times?
I can't say, man.
Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
I wish I could name one.
Luke Skywalker. That's your boy Uncle Luke. That's his original name. That was his first rap name. Anyways, Islas Canarias Cuban Express is established in 1977, but they've taken the restaurant, which is a staple of Cuban Miami, of Miami in general, and have moved it to Dayland Mall, the dining pavilion, so everybody can share. You don't have to be all the way out there. Anthony Bourdain, famous chef, went all the way out west to try this food. It was so good on Food Network. But you don't have to do all that. You can go right to Dayland Mall in the dining pavilion. Got the crema de malanga, brand new, 7 different types of croquetas, meat, veggies, starches, you name it. They have it at Islas Canarias, the #1 Cuban restaurant on planet Earth.
So should we get into Carson Beck
here, Pete, from Johnny Lagoon? He said, talk to my plug from Duke, who's in Duke Athletics and in town for the game tonight. He says, Jay is great. Johnny Lagoon, what did the guy say about our report? Did it send Duke into a frenzy?
It seems like it did. Their fans are in a frenzy.
I can't wait till Duke comes out and is all distracted with this stuff. Canes pull off a huge upset. Pete's in the building, although you're not touching wood today, right? You're in the normal seats. I
don't think I'm touching wood this evening. So have to bring by my binoculars from the 12th row.
In Durham.
Oh, listen, it is what it is, man.
They're not going to be happy when Divine's breaking into that top-ranked defense and just hitting layup after layup. The guys pointing at each other. How do we stop this thing? Jolie with hitting the step backs.
My question, D, is obviously they're going to talk about it on the broadcast tonight. The whole situation. Is Kane's insight going to get mentioned on the broadcast tonight? What are the odds on that?
Who's doing this? Who's doing the broadcast?
I don't know. That's
call some favors.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, we shouldn't need to call it any favors. They have to reference the report, right?
You'd think so. I saw the AP reported it. A few hours later, they got the scoop, and in between, they got the tip from Kane's Insight, and then they confirmed it officially.
Hey, it is what it is, man. What can we do? Let's get into Carson Beck. Why don't we?
Well, let's do it. Speaking of ESPN, so
we had a question here or a comment from Debris saying Mario doing some damage control, commenting on Beck.
What do you mean? I heard the interview. What would they say?
I think that I think maybe there's a perception that Mario is just saying he's ready to go soon to get people, to calm people down. But we know how Mario is. I don't see why he would do that. And when he says he'll be throwing in a week or two, and I'll play the clip here. I have the clip. When he says he'll be throwing in a week or two, or in a couple weeks or so, I should say, like that throwing doesn't mean he'll be like putting the pads on for spring practice and getting in there and letting it rip. Like that doesn't necessarily mean that.
I mean, we don't play until it's February. I hate to say this because it hurts to think about, but how many months, man? It's a lot. We're talking about 6 months. Ugh. So we got half a year before we got to worry about this guy throwing the ball, sadly. But he'll be ready to wait before that. I mean, again, Brock Purdy was the comp. The surgery went well. We would have known if the surgery went haywire. Brock Purdy had a much quicker recovery. He got injured later. Brock Purdy got injured like in late January. So, and he was back, no problem, and won an MVP, or was an MVP candidate. Oh, got to go. Getting a call.
Another call?
Yes, sir.
All right. So as D keeps monitoring things, as maybe we get a bank later today. And again, guys, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate everyone who's been on this show with us today. Let me play the clip real quick so you guys can see what I was talking about here and what the commenters are talking about.
Well, a lot of the reasons why we like Cam, a guy that besides the accuracy and the strong arm and the ability to just elevate a football team, the guy is just he's poised to have a great season with the right protection, the right scheme. Our scheme fits him. Our scheme is designed to be really powerful and strong up front, to get the ball to the playmakers outside, to protect him really well, right? And a very diversified passing game that has a lot of autonomy to it. So he fits us perfect. He's doing well. He's running really fast. He's not throwing the ball yet, but he's very close to doing so. So he's taking part in all the stuff that he can do, and he should be throwing soon, maybe in a couple of weeks or so.
So a couple things I found interesting there. Obviously, the number one thing we said was the comment about him saying that Beck would be potentially throwing in a couple weeks or so. So that was noteworthy, number one. But the other thing that I found interesting was Cristobal saying that Beck really fits the system. And I don't necessarily think he was talking about the style of offense Miami plays, like the air raid with that power run game. I don't think that's what he's talking about. I think he's talking about just in general, because he mentioned it. He said he's a guy who thrives with protection up front and being able to get the ball outside to the playmaker. So, and being able to run the football. So we understand he did not have that at Georgia last year. He did not have the weapons on the outside. The run game was not the Georgia run game that we've been accustomed to over the years. So what Mario was saying there, in a sense, to me, was this is what we do. We're always going to have an offensive line, which is what Blue's saying here. He says Mario sounds like he's already selling the program for another portal QB next year with our system. And the system is not, and this is something D Money has talked about for a while, as we've talked about Shannon Dawson and just not only him, but what Mario wants to do, and how over the years there's been a belief that Mario just wants to run the football, but he's been way more balanced than people would actually think. And again, the offensive line we know is always going to be the number one thing for Mario, is building the trenches, protecting the quarterback, getting a solid run game. But you got to protect the quarterback to be able to throw the ball downfield, as we saw last year. And Cam Ward was special, but that was what it sounded like to me when you talk about Mario mentioning the system. So I agree with that, Blue, and I think that's the idea for him moving forward. Obviously, you'd love for a Luke Nickel to develop and be that guy down the line, but if Beck hits, that would be 2 years in a row now with two big time quarterbacks out of the portal. And yeah, Kyle, I think we're agreeing with that. Mario saying Beck upgraded from the UGA offense to the Miami offense, which, yeah, he said it as clearly as he could have without saying that statement. And that's exactly what I was just saying. So you look at what he had at Georgia last year, and now he's coming into a situation at Miami that there is a couple changes on the offensive line. Zach Carpenter gone, but you have Brockermeyer coming in there. You lose a Jalen Rivers, but Markel Bell should be able to slide into that left tackle spot. And you feel pretty good about the O-line. Running back wise, you lose Martinez, but you have Fletcher, you have Lyle, you have Pringle coming in as a freshman. So you're excited about that. And then wide receiver, look for them to add one as we expect, but excited about the young talent in that room. So definitely, I agree with you on that one, Kyle. We agree, man, for once. And we stopped the Jay Lucas talk and we can agree. So let's see. Johnny Lagoon says, I met Luke the other day, really likable guy from his teammates in Big. If in spring he looks solid and gets time this year, I say we bring him out next year. Yeah, Luke, I have seen him walking around too. He's definitely stout, not a small quarterback by any stretch. That remains to be seen. You think Mario will bring Colby back? Colby Young? No, I don't think so. And I mean, look, you're saying that remains to be seen in terms of Miami's talent at receiver next year compared to what Georgia had. Georgia was one of the worst receiving units by the numbers, by the analytics in the country. So I would still feel confident in saying Miami has something better, even with just CJ Daniels, JoJo Trader coming back. I feel better about what Miami has right now than what Georgia did. And I'm not saying it's enough yet, by the way. I still think they need someone else in there, but I'll still take that with the talent Miami has with an Elijah Lofton, right? So a Bauman coming in from Tulane who has some nice hands at receiver. I mean, at tight end. So I'll still take that over what Georgia had. Pete, if Bell continues to develop, do you think he can be a round one tackle? I think he has a chance, man. He has a chance. I think that size, and I've said it before, he's really tall, but he can bend at the knees. He's not a guy who's bending at the waist and losing his balance. Can move at that size, is not a clumsy, big, tall guy. And his weight is distributed well. He doesn't have like skinny legs. So if he can continue to learn how to use that length, and from everything I hear, is a really hard worker, good kid, and has taken everything very seriously in terms of when he got here from the JUCO level, continuously getting better. I think he should be in that mix. Yeah, for sure. I think continuing to get stronger and, just the technique stuff, man. That's the biggest thing. Gio says Bell's too slow off the line. I think, look, Gio, with his length, he doesn't need to be the quickest guy in the world. So can he always get a little bit quicker? Yeah, without a doubt. But that's the advantage of having that length that he has. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap this thing up here. As always, wanted to remind you guys though, Miami HTS.com, the Miami Hurricane team store across from campus. Go check it out. I'm going to pull up the website here. We got 30% off basketball gear. So look, I know we've been disappointed in the season, but let's look forward to next year. Let's look forward to the new era. Let's look forward to the Jay Lucas era and what's to come. My boy Kyle, I know you're excited for it. Going to have top recruiting classes in the country, and we can go support the other team. Of course, we have Duke tonight at home, but check out MiamiHurricaneTeamStore.com. Again, 30% off the basketball gear right now, all the basketball related stuff. And then use the code INSIGHT20 off your first order online for 20% off. Again, code INSIGHT20, MiamiHTS.com. You can go across from campus, check them out, the official store for the Hurricanes and the athletic department. And Blue saying any show after the game tonight to be determined. We'll see how it goes, man. I don't know how much analysis I can do about a game that we get beaten by 30. I hope that's not the case, but I have a bad feeling about it. So I'll be there, excited to see Miami take on Duke. Appreciate you guys joining the show today. See you guys tomorrow. Hit that like and subscribe.